Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Claire Markwick, and this is Real Life Business. Welcome to episode number 23 of the Real Life Business podcast, the show that helps you balance running your business with everything else that goes on in this crazy thing that we call life. Now, before we get into this week's episode, I want to say a massive thank you once again for lending me your ears. Perhaps you've been with me from the beginning, perhaps today is the first time you've tuned in, or perhaps it's somewhere in between. But wherever it is, I want to say thank you because I realize that there is a huge amount of competition for your precious time, so I really appreciate you being here. Now, we are almost at the end of season 1, and it has been a huge learning experience for me, as well as having opened up some fantastic opportunities. I've got some super exciting news that I'll let you know a bit more about at the end, so stick around for that. But be sure to sign up for my brand new Real Talk newsletter, which is going to be coming out weekly and will give you weekly doses of me direct to your inbox. I'll be sharing tips and resources on supporting you to grow a business that fits in with your life, sharing more of my own real stories and giving you a sneak peek for what's coming up in the show, as well as what is coming up in this real life business movement. And there are some exciting things, trust me. Now, more than ever, the importance of a healthy mindset and a resilient business are being made abundantly clear. So jump on into the show notes of this episode and sign up now for the Real Talk mailing list, and edition number 1 will be in your inbox real soon. But now, back to this week's episode. This week, I am chatting with Brie Jones about focusing on what we want our business to be for us. Brie is a certified intuitive coach passionate about teaching women to awaken their intuition so they can embrace their wild self. Brie lives with her husband and 4, soon to be 5 kids on a farm in the Upper Murry in regional Victoria. She loves farm life, however, battles from the same challenges as myself when it comes to satellite internet connections. So please bear with the moments where we turn into underwater robots and enjoy this inspirational conversation. Brie, thank you so much for joining me. Can you believe we first chatted back in March about getting together to do this recording? And in that time, both of us have had to reschedule for one reason or another. I think it's probably testament to what goes on when you're running a service-based business with kids amid a global pandemic, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Why don't we start off by getting to know you a little bit more? Tell us a little bit more about you and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I'm a mum of 4 kids and I have one on the way. I'm not sure if I told you that or not, a little whoopsie baby.
Congratulations.
COVID baby, yes, which has thrown a big spanner in the works with a global pandemic and everything that's going on. And I live in the foothills of the Snowy Mountains, so on a farm, really in the middle of nowhere. And I just became really, I started my own personal development journey for myself. I was just sick of having low self-worth, of, those negative thoughts that go through your head, of just feeling like I wasn't good enough. I really felt like I was plagued by those thoughts. And so I started my own journey. And I think for most coaches and mentors and people out there, it always starts with their own journey. Yep. And your service becomes your medicine. So now I'm so passionate about teaching women how they can embrace their wild self. And when I say their wild self, it's fair to say that we, you, me, all of us are immersed in this validation, approval seeking world. And we're obsessed with it. We need it. We need that approval. So it's breaking away from that need for validation and that need for approval, because when you think about it, that stops us from doing a lot of things that we want to do. It stops us from saying a lot of things that we want to do. It stops us from pursuing a business that we want to do, or leaving a relationship that's not serving us. It stops us from doing so much. So when we can really sit in our own power and know that our choices are our choices, regardless of what other people think, that to me is true freedom. And that's what I really want to share with other women, that we all hold that power.
I think it's such an important message, and you're absolutely right. Well, I can certainly put my hand up and say that was my journey as well, in terms of becoming a coach. So we seek out the information, we seek out the learning for our own development, don't we? And then I guess there's this little entrepreneurial itch or this little thing inside of us that's like, you know what? If this is helping me so much, I could help so many other women, or so many other businesses, or so many other whatever it is that we're going to coach. It just kind of evolves, doesn't it? And there is so much power in that realization that we don't have to get everyone's approval. We can't possibly get everyone's approval, can we?
It's impossible. And it's exhausting. Trying to control everybody's opinion of you is exhausting and unachievable. Yet we still try and do it. So being able to break away from that is liberating. It's freeing. It's like, oh, such a relief. I can just be me, and that's good enough.
I love it. I love it. How long have you been serving your clients for with this awesome, empowering message?
About 4 years. Yeah. I don't know where the time has gone. I began my own journey, I guess, in between my second and third child. And then by the time I had my fourth child in 2017, I really began to want to share. It's like a need to share it with the world. It's not about growing a big business and being famous. It's like this, I found this key to liberating yourself from the chains of the world that we're immersed in. So here it is. Who wants it? And you just feel so compelled to share it.
Yeah. I think I'm resonating so much. I mean, we're both coaches. We do different things, but I think that that message of, or that just feeling of, oh my God, like there are so many people here I can help. And I think that's the difference between like a more online service-based business and a physical business, isn't it? Like there's really, I mean, I'm not saying that there's capped potential for people with a physical bricks and mortar business, but when we, the royal we, are the service that we're offering, there's almost unlimited potential as to what we can do, isn't there? And do you find that is a freedom for you, or do you find that can be a challenge for you?
I think both. I think that, you know, when you decide to take your own personal development journey into a business, and then the study changes and think, I mean, I've been studying for, you know, nonstop for like 6 years.
Yeah.
There's a new, you have to become visible. So I can be my empowered self at home with my children and my husband, but to be that person out in the world and being visible is a really different thing. And I'm sure that you resonate with that as a coach. It's like, okay, I got to walk my what is it? Walk my walk, whatever that saying is. I always get it wrong.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to be I guess it's that you can't have that incongruence of, this is who I am when I'm visible, when people can see me, this is who I am behind the scenes. It's that next step of personal development.
Yeah.
But the online world means that we can reach so many people, and so many more people. I mean, I have clients that are overseas, you know. I guess you could say that I have an international business, although I don't really say that, but I do. I have clients all over Australia, you know, in Canada and in the US. And I wouldn't be able to reach those people without being online. And I think we're really lucky to live in a time where we have that technology behind us. Yeah. Or that we can use it to support our business.
Absolutely. And that echoes the sentiment of, so as we're recording this, as it's gonna play back, that echoes the sentiment of what we spoke about last week with Claudine. It hasn't actually gone live yet as we're recording right now, but by the time people are listening to this, it will be last week. In that she's in the UK, and that conversation came up, you know, like that we could have that conversation just the same as you and I are, being, you know, tens or hundreds of kilometers apart, and we were thousands of kilometers apart in completely different time zones, yet we could have a conversation, and we could share knowledge, and we could share experiences with people. And I think there's a balance there, isn't there? That's a blessing and that's a curse. So when you've got a service-based business that you operate from home, that you have got the potential of reaching so many different people at the push of a button, there's a real, I find anyway, I don't know about you, a real pressure is the wrong word, but there's a chance that we can be on all the time, isn't there? Like it's not
Yes.
like we're locking the door of a shop, or we're closing up a cafe, or we're closing up an office and we're walking and we're going home. Like we can be on all the time, can't we? How do you handle that?
Yeah. I think sometimes I don't handle that very well. And, I call it, sometimes I sink into my addictions. That's what I call it. We all have different addictions, and social media scrolling is one of those. And you can tell yourself that you're being productive and that you're working and it's important, and it's so not. So it really takes being honest with yourself and really setting your priorities. Like what are my priorities? What am I wanting to do when I'm at home? And the biggest thing that gets me is when I see my kids on their iPods, or watching those people opening toys on YouTube videos.
Yes.
And I'm like, I need to get off my phone.
And the latest, I don't know about your kids, but my kids, they'll watch videos of someone else watching a video and commenting on it. And I'm like, how have these people got millions of subscribers?
I know, right? We're in the wrong business. We should be opening toys or doing something.
My YouTube channel with like 30 subscribers or something. I'm like, what?
We're doing the wrong thing. No, we're not. We're not doing the wrong thing. But, it takes being honest with yourself and checking in with yourself. And you can't do that. I think everything's about presence. And when I realize that I'm not being present, sometimes I realize sooner than other times, I check myself and I'm like, Brie, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are you numbing from? Because right now, I don't know if you noticed, but the world's kind of gone a bit crazy, and it's really easy to sink into the fear and the propaganda so I have to be like, take me away. I can turn off the internet here because we live in the middle of nowhere, which is great. So I turn it off and I'm like, get outside. We have thousands and thousands of acres to get out on, which we're really, really lucky. But I don't do it as quickly as I feel like I should. And I've got to stop beating myself up about that as well. And I think as mothers and women, we kind of beat ourselves up when we're not being perfect. And I don't think I've ever been perfect.
And you never will be.
Honest.
And nor will I be.
Never will be.
As my 8-year-old reminds me all the time, when I say something to him, he's like, Mom, I'm not perfect. I'm 8, and mistakes help me learn. I'm like, boy, you are so right.
Yes. And it's a beautiful moment when you feel like, the things I've been saying is rubbing off on my kids, and now they're mirroring that back to me. It's like, I'm doing something right.
But you're absolutely right. I think any woman, any mum listening to this, and I would say that there's a lot of men and a lot of dads as well, but I'm speaking from personal experience, talking about mums, particularly mums who are coaches or mums who have done some personal development work and know the theory, know the limiting beliefs, know the negative self-talk. No, we know all that theory. We can put even more pressure on ourselves in that case, can't we?
Absolutely. I teach women about their intuition, which goes hand in hand with breaking free from this approval-seeking world that we're wedded to. But our intuition is, to me, it's everything. It's our trust in self. It's where our self-worth is. It's where everything resides. And when that connection is, I don't want to say the word broken, but when it's not free flowing, when we're not trusting it, some women don't even feel like they have their intuition. Life does feel clunky and hard because there's no self-trust. There's no self-worth in the way of, like I said before, the choices we make, the relationships that we leave, the jobs that the businesses that we want to start, all of that. And what I love about the work that I do is it's not about saying, oh, sugar, I've got all of these limiting beliefs. I'm so broken, like there's no getting away from this. In actual fact, it's saying, hey, I've got these beliefs. Let's go and explore them. And so they're not bad to have. We all have them. Every single human on the planet has them.
Yep.
And we villainize them, or we think they become our identity. I love Caroline Mace calls it woundology. We allow our wounds or our past to become our identity. Whereas instead, if we can just say, hey, I've got this belief that I'm not good enough, let's go and explore that. Let's go and see where that has come from, whether this lifetime or past lifetime, who knows? And it really breaks down that need to be perfect. And women can finally say, yeah, I've got all these negative beliefs. Isn't that awesome? Now I know how to go and look at them, and I can see where they're playing out in all the different parts of my life. And so I keep my work quite lighthearted as well. Like, it's deep, transformative work, but we're here to have fun, right? We're here to laugh, and here to, I guess, not make our problems less, but to make our what we perceive to be our problems and our issues something that we can work with, something that is a part of us, something that will probably raise its ugly head for our whole lives. There's not necessarily any fixing or getting over our problems, but it's learning to live with them and seeing where they play out in our lives. And it's in those very moments when we go, oh, hang on a second, this is my limiting belief right now speaking. You can check yourself.
Yeah.
And you can say, I don't want that to rule my life right now. And it's in those moments where you can see that the work is working, or you can see that all that self-exploration, all that diving in deep into your subconscious is working. And it's in that moment where you have a choice to go left or right, up or down, whichever way you're going to go. And that's the big aha moments that I live for within myself and with my clients.
I hear you 100%. And that was a major, major learning for me, actually, in my journey, because where I got to in my career, it was when I went back to work after having Tal now being Mr. 8, Mr. I'm not perfect, I'm 8. And when I went back to work after having him, I felt stuck in the middle. I felt I wasn't doing the mum job well enough because I was going to work. I wasn't doing the work job well enough because my brain was on the kids. And I felt this horrible, just out of control mess of emotion. And I thought to myself that I needed to fix myself. I needed to get better, if you like. And the 8 year, we're now in our 8th year journey from that point onwards has taught me that, exactly like you said, we don't reach a point where we've got it. We don't reach a point where we're fixed, where we don't face any challenges, or we don't face any limiting beliefs, or we don't face any self-doubt. We don't ever reach that point, do we? Well, I certainly haven't reached it. There will always be something, but I guess the journey is learning, exactly like you said, learning the tools, learning the questions we can ask ourselves, learning the reflection strategies to figure out what's going on right now, and then choose a different path.
I think also realizing that, I don't have to do it all on my own. I can have a coach. I have mentors. I recommend that everyone has a mentor of some kind, because we're really good at hiding stuff from ourselves. We're really good at lying to ourselves. And if you have a fierce but compassionate and loving coach, they've got to have both of those. They can call you out on it, and they can say, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Because they can see through it, right? We can't always see through our own bullshit. So I actually think that every single person, it should be, I would love it to be the norm. I would love for people to say, yeah, I have a coach, because I don't have everything all together. Yet people come to me when their life is falling apart.
Yeah.
The Mack trucks come and hit them not once, but twice. And they think, okay, I got to change. Something has to change. I can't live like this anymore. You and I probably live more in a proactive way now,
100%.
Where it's like, okay, I'm sliding down the rabbit hole. I need someone to just sit with me for a moment while I have my 5 minutes of self-pity. And then when I'm ready, they can help me crawl back out of this hole.
Exactly. And I absolutely love what you've just said there, in as much as like crawl back out of this hole, have my moment of pity, because like I was saying before, even when you have all that theory and when it's your job or your business to help other people through that, doesn't mean we don't feel it ourselves, does it?
I feel it. You know, I had a client this morning and we got on Zoom and I said, I'm really sorry. I can't be of service to you today because I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed. I've got 3 kids who are trying to remote learn, and you know, my 4th one who just wants to run around and be crazy. And I just, a year ago, that would not have been okay with me. I would have pushed through. I would have made myself see that client, and you know, and she completely understood. She completely understood. I think in this day and age, everyone's like, I get it, man.
Yeah.
I'm sitting, you know, we're all on the edge of overwhelm right now. But being able to admit, hey, yes, I'm your coach, but today I'm unable to serve you because I'm in my own hole of self-pity. That to me takes a lot of courage and bravery, and just to know, hey, I've got to take some time out. And I did. I went for a walk. I listened to some music. I breathed. And we spoke about that when we first met. You know, I forgot to breathe. I forgot what I was doing. I was stuck in flight or fight, that survival place. And I can't serve the world from that place. I can't. I'm reactive with my children from that place. So I have to pull myself back. And I have a beautiful mentor who I sent a voice message to, and I've got to take myself out of the game for a moment, go and have a walk, breathe, and realize that I'm human and there's a lot going on right now, and I'm allowed to have my morning off with no work.
100%. I think that if this last 18 months has taught us anything, it's maybe brought that fact alone to light, you know, a lot more starkly, hasn't it? But in as much as it is okay to not be okay. How many posts and how many things do we read about that? And how much do we hear? It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. Like, we have to fill our cup. Like, I certainly hear it in my circles all the time, but I think actually believing it and actually having the courage to follow through with it is a different thing, isn't it?
It is. And I did a really great live on It's Okay to Not Be Okay. The town so I live near Corryong, and we've experienced 4 suicides of young men in the past 18 months to 2 years, which is sad. It's really sad. It's taken a toll on the town, and everyone's like, it's okay to not be okay. And I thought, what does that mean? If you're telling me it's okay to not be okay, what does that mean? And I really sat with it for a while, and I thought, it means that if I'm not okay, then I'm not okay. And I don't have to, and this is, I think, where women get caught. I don't have to explain to anyone why I'm not okay. But I do need to reach out to the people that I trust and know are going to be there for me. But on the flip side, I've got to be a better friend. I have to ask my friends if they're okay. And when they're not okay, I've got to be there to support them. And the cancel culture that we live with today is killing It's Not Okay to Be Okay, because we're canceling out people's feelings. And, you know, there's always someone who's worse off than you. There's always someone who's going through, you know, what you might perceive as a worse time than you, or a worse time than someone else. But it doesn't matter. Even if your life is quote unquote perfect, you can still be having a terrible day and not be okay. So I think that we need to be better friends and better listeners. I'll give you a hot tip. One thing that I learned in my training is to be a good listener. Yeah. Because we listen so that we know when we can interject, when we can say our piece, when we can, you know, put our spin on whatever. That's why we're listening. We're not listening just to listen. And so when I'm sitting with a friend who is going through a rough time, or I now do it all the time because I just love it, is before I say anything, I count to 3. I do this with my clients, but I've filtered it out into my everyday life. And when you count to 3, just 1, 2, 3, it gives whoever's speaking an opportunity to self-process whatever they have shared with me, and then they'll share at a deeper level. And then I just stay with them energetically, and I count to 3 again. That to me is listening. And I think that's how we can be better friends, better coaches, and better listeners.
I think that's fabulous. And I just found myself doing that probably a little bit too quickly still in response to what you just said there, just sitting back and really listening. I think I've said it so many times that there's a hell of a lot circling around at the moment about bullying in schools and teen suicide and youth mental health, and how as parents and at schools we've got to do something about curbing bullying in schools and things. But when I look at what our adult society are doing and how there's so much judgment, there's so much bullying of people in the media, of people in government, of people in royal families, of celebrities, of sports stars. I'm like we cannot, as a population, expect, as a civilization, expect for our kids not to absorb that and not to mimic that and not to replicate 100%. That. And I think taking just that moment there just to stop and reflect before we open our mouths or start typing is such valuable advice.
It's, what makes me the saddest and the most fearful about this whole pandemic isn't, and it's not the vaccination discussion, but I can't think of the word I was going to say there. It's not the politics of it. It's not the virus. It's the division between us as people. You are on one side or you're on the other side. And if you're not on the right side, which is my side, or I'm speaking as the people, then and the division, and that is scary because we're not in it together. And you will have different beliefs to me around what the best thing is for me and for my family. And so will everyone will. We will all deal with it so differently. And I just feel like compassion, kindness, and respectfulness has sort of fallen out the bottom somewhere.
Yeah.
And and that's what makes me sad, because it's not okay at the moment to share your feelings, your true feelings or your fears on what we're all experiencing, which is a huge moment in history that our grandchildren will read about for, however it plays out. I've made a commitment to myself to always choose love and kindness over hatred. And, I guess I also have the inside intel intuitively. I know when people are coming from fear, and we're all immersed in fear at the moment. I don't care how enlightened you are.
Yeah.
None of us know what's going to happen. None of us know what the right thing to do is. But what we can do is just be kind to each other and say, I respect how you feel. I respect your worries. I respect your hesitancy. I respect, whatever it is. Please respect mine.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That's the crucial part. We don't have to agree to be kind and compassionate. We don't have to agree. We just need to respect. And that links us really nicely back full circle to sort of where we started this part of the conversation, in as much as we're never going to please everybody all the time in our business, are we? Like there are always going to be people with different opinions. There are always going to be people telling us we should do something this way and we should do this and we should try that. And I guess the enlightened business owner, the educated, the empowered, whatever the word you want to use is, respects, listens, but then we rock forth our own way, don't we? We walk our own path.
And I think now more than ever, being able to trust your intuition, to go within and know what the right choice is for you and for your family. That to me is the most important thing right now, because it's going to be different for me as it is for you and everyone else. But when you can take yourself away from the approval of others and just sit with yourself, and that's all your intuition is, connection with self, right? That's where you make empowered decisions from, and it doesn't matter what other people are thinking or not. Because let's be honest, people are going to judge you if you do or you don't. You know, exactly. We're never, the judgment is there. It's being able to sink into our own empowerment and to know that the choices that we're making are choices that we're making from love and not from fear.
Yes. Yeah. And I love how you said about, you know, what's right for us and our family, because our family, our situation, our greater purpose. I mean, that to me, that's my energy source. That's what keeps me going. That's what brings me back to alignment. That's what is my check-in. What is that for you? What is it when, you know, shit's hitting the fan and, you know, things really aren't going maybe how you want them to go? What is it that brings you back to, you know, your core, your alignment, your purpose for what you're doing?
Presence, bringing myself back into the present moment, because whenever we're anywhere else than right here, right now, we're not in congruence with ourselves. You cannot hear your intuition when you're sitting in the past or projecting into a fearful future. So I always bring myself back to presence, and to do that, I've got to chuck my phone away. I need to get outside. To me, nature is everything. You know, get outside, put my feet in the grass and breathe. That's all I need to do, and I will bring myself back to center, out of that flight or fight mode. You know, that, I mean, I know that all of our nervous systems are totally overloaded right now with, you know, everything that we're seeing. So, you know, more than ever, we need to be doing that, bringing ourselves back into the moment, back into the now, being present with our families, being out in nature, and really nurturing ourselves. We could be in this pandemic for many years to come. Who knows? I mean, who knows where we're headed? And whatever your beliefs are around that, we've got to take care of ourselves, and we need to nurture ourselves.
Absolutely.
And, you know, in terms of my business, I've really scaled back my business this year, not out of wanting to, it's out of in school, out of school, in school, out of school, because two of my children at school in Victoria, the other one's in New South Wales. And, you know, that was a journey in itself, being okay with, okay, I don't have to be growing my business right now. I've got beautiful clients. I've actually, and I call it COVID proofing and baby proofing my business. And I've taken my live intuition program to be more of an evergreen with some one-on-one time with me type program, because I just think right now is not the time for me personally, to be growing my business. And I've had to, you know, look at you're a failure kind of, you know, thoughts that hang around there, and the comparisons to other people, you know, all of that lovely stuff that we work on, and it's still there. And I'm really cool with my decision now. I'm really grateful, number one, that I'm my own boss and I can scale back if I want to. And number two, my kids need me, because, you know, they're living through this as well.
Exactly.
They're out of school. They're having to remote learn. They can't see their friends. They can't play sport. Like poor Victorian children, they can't even play sport, you know. And I know that New South Wales is in lockdown now too, but the Victorian kids have really suffered.
Yeah.
And from a business point of view, I know I've made the right choice for myself for the right now, to look after it. It's okay to look after me. You know, why as women we think everyone else, you know, look after everyone else, and I'm like, I'm just looking after me, because matter. and I have to look after me for my children.
Exactly. And this is something that I've spoken to clients about recently as well, in as much as, you know, we can't we can't be there for our kids or our business or our clients or our husbands or our wives or anyone. We can't be there for anyone else if we're not there for ourselves. So, we have to, if we want to be the best parent we can be, the best business owner we can be, the best whatever, like we have to look after ourselves first, don't we? And I remember back in March when we first spoke, you said something and I wrote it down. You said, the question you ask yourself is, what do I want my business to be for me? And I think that is such a powerful question. And it's actually quite ironic, funny, whatever way you want to look at it, that, this environment that we're in right now has caused you to ask yourself that question again. But I think it's actually a really powerful question for us to be asking ourselves every few months anyway, isn't it? It's like, where are we at right now? Where am I in the grand scheme of my life goals, my business goals, my family goals? What does my business need to be for me right now? And we tailor things for that purpose.
Yeah. And I don't need to conquer the world today or this year. I have a baby on the way. I often ask myself why this baby wanted to join the world right now. But he or she is on the way. And, I just turned 39. I'm nearly 40. I have, hopefully another 40 years to conquer the world. So, I've given myself permission to say, slow down. And last year I pushed myself really hard. I pushed the kids really hard with remote learning. And this year, Ava, my second, hates remote learning, hates it. And I'm like wondering if that's because I really pushed her to do it and I was pushing myself to do it and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And I don't want that right now. Right now, my two eldest are out digging out a space that they're going to build their cubby house room. That's our remote learning. Mum, we're going to build a cubby house.
Awesome.
Like, I think that's fantastic. I would much rather you be out there than sitting on Zoom with they do some schoolwork, but they want to do that. That's their own initiative, and I'm like, go for it. So just I'm reevaluating. I think we've all reevaluated our lives. Anyway, with the lockdowns, and depending on where you are in the world, the lockdowns have been very, very different. Victoria has suffered greatly, and it's really made me think, what am I going to do right now? I still love my business though, and sometimes I'm a little bit sad that I'm not working on it as much as I want to. But I also trust the process. Exactly. Sometimes you got to let go and surrender. And I wish surrendering was easy, but it's so hard. But once we can let go and surrender and say, okay, it's amazing what the universe shows you. So, that's sort of where I'm sitting right now.
I love that. And something that I ask every guest, and you may have touched upon it already in that response there, is I am really curious about what people's non-negotiables are. What are those things that you absolutely have to do to ensure that you as a business owner and your business as an entity is operating effectively? And I mean, I'd have to go out there on a limb and suggest probably that reflection, that surrendering, that assessing where things are at is going to be a big part of it. But what else? Is there anything else that you as a business owner have to do, standards you've set for yourself to keep yourself acting optimally? Long question. I couldn't get my words out.
Yeah, it is. No, it's good. Non-negotiably, my business doesn't work if me as a person, emotionally, physically, spiritually, isn't working.
Yeah.
And it's pushing shit uphill if I'm out of congruence, if I'm personally not doing well. And so the non-negotiables are me. I mean, my business is me, right? I'm not selling a beautiful. Sometimes I think, I should just find something really pretty and cute, like those baby clothes they sell themselves.
The amount of times I've thought that. I wish I had a pretty thing to take photos of for Instagram.
Yeah, or I could make amazing jewelry, or as an artist. But no, my service is to show women, hey, you are a badass. Let's break free from this chains of this world. But I have my non-negotiables are me.
Yeah.
And that's sitting in contemplation, sitting in meditation, just sitting in silence with myself. And that's really hard when you've got kids, because I don't know about you, but when I go to the toilet, the kids are like, what are you doing, Mom?
Yep.
Are you doing a poo or a wee? And I'm like, does it matter? But
Oh
I do take that time. I do take that time. And one of the biggest things that I've learned on my journey is that I can't be spiritual and intuitive and all of that in one moment, when at 5 a.m. when I get myself out of bed so that I can have that freedom time. It's actually all the time. It's in everything that we do. Every thought, every word that we speak, every action. Actually, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and integrating what I need into my family life has been, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, because it's exhausting trying to be two different people, spiritual Brie and the stressed out mum Brie. Let's bring them together and just be one Brie. And that has had a flow-on effect with the kids, the family unit and all of those things.
Oh, I think it's such a, I love it. It's such a fascinating conversation. I thought this back when we first met back in March. I'm like, I could just talk to you for ages. I love it. But I am conscious of your time. How can people find out more about you, get in touch with you, find out more about your services and courses?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram, probably like most people. My Instagram handle is Brie Intuitive, because I think I'm really clever. But I'll send you the links to that. And really what I love to do, if people are interested in exploring their intuition or just breaking free from those thoughts that plague their mind, is to just reach out and have a chat with me so that I can explain to you how I work, and for you to ask me any questions. Because choosing a mentor is not choosing a cute baby outfit out of the catalog. It's much deeper than that, and it's creating that or having that relationship, having that resonance. And of course, mums and people in breaking down relationships, all those glorious things that I've been through, tend to be the medicine that I offer in this world. So that's how I love to bring new people into my business, is just through conversation and so that they can know that, yes, Brie is the right person to work with.
Yeah. I love that. And I'll post all your contact links and everything in the show notes to this episode. So anyone listening who's curious can just jump into the show notes and all those links will be there. So that will be very, very easy. Now, before you go, I do want to fire some quick fire questions at you if you are up for that.
Absolutely.
All righty, let's do this. Tell us about a book that you believe everyone needs to read.
One book that I absolutely loved. Let me think. I've read so many. I started my journey off with books from with Brene Brown.
Yeah.
And what I loved about her book, especially Braving the Wilderness, is just that it's thought-provoking, and you can see where you're sitting in your addictions, or you can see where how shame and guilt are really playing a part in your life. And I think it's quite a soft entrance into that personal development world. So anything by Brene Brown. Plus she's funny. I love her voice. I listen to audiobooks because I've got 4 kids and I don't have time to read.
Oh yeah, with you there.
But yeah, Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown is a beautiful book. I loved it.
Oh, fabulous. That's not one I've read, actually. I've read some of her other ones, so I'll have to go check that one out. What about a song? What's a favorite song of all time and why?
I have many, many, many favorite songs, but my teacher who taught me all about intuition and who I mentor with now, Ricky Jane Adams, she introduced me to a song. It's Vivaldi. It's a instrumental piece.
Okay.
I can't even think of what it's called. It's just in my phone, but it's that song. When I listen to it, and because I listen to it with intention, it just brings me out of flight or fight mode. It brings me into the moment. into that heart congruent space, and I'm just like, oh, the world is good.
Yeah, I've got this.
Yeah, I love many songs that I sing, but that song there, I guess, has a way of just bringing me back to I guess, you know what, it brings me back to the moment, brings me back to presence.
And any tool or anything that we can have that helps us do that, especially right now, I think is super important.
And quickly, but we need it now.
What about a quote that's changed your life?
My teacher, Ricky Jane Adams, she always says, what if there is no problem?
Ooh.
What if there is no problem? And it's very, very, she has it tattooed on her arm. That's how powerful it is for her. But when the world's falling down, something's happened, and you can just go, okay, what if there is no problem? It allows you to sink back into the curiosity of it. Like, okay, maybe there is no problem. Maybe this is what I need, maybe this is that surrender word that we love, maybe this is me letting go.
I love that. Okay, we're going to get more practical now. Just before we finish up, tell us about a piece of tech, app, or a bit of software that you couldn't do without in your business.
Only one?
I know, right?
Apart from the usual suspects that I think we all use, like Canva and things like that, I really love Asana. I don't know if you use Asana, but I just get to put all of my ideas and my posts, and I have a VA, and everything goes in there. My launches for my programs, and even every link, because every week we do a new subject in my program, all the links, everything's there, and that's so easy. So I'm going to say Asana.
You are not alone. I would say probably, I'm going to have to go back and count them. I reckon maybe at least half of this first season's worth of these conversations, people have said Asana.
Oh, wow.
It is very, very popular.
Good then.
I need to jump on and see if they've got an affiliate marketing program, the amount of times we've mentioned Asana through this podcast.
Absolutely.
Leave us with a life hack.
I think the best, and I've touched on this many times through this podcast, the best, and I don't know if it's a hack, but I'm going to make it one.
Oh yeah.
The best thing you can do for yourself when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, angry, in an argument, whatever it is to just breathe. And I don't mean shallow breath breathing. I mean, close your eyes, make your belly, breathe into that belly, make it as big as you can, let out a big sigh. And if you need to walk away and just take a moment for yourself, take it, because gosh, that can change everything, especially in an argument when you're overwhelmed, or, when you're overwhelmed and nothing's happening and you can't get the thing in the thing and you break it. Like, it just, okay, I'm walking away. You can walk away really angry. You can walk away and you can cry. You can walk away, do whatever you want, but just bringing yourself back into presence and just shaking it off. Oh, shaking's really good too. You can just literally shake it all away.
There's no video here, but we can see each other shaking.
We can see each other shaking, and it works. It's like that that stress cycle that we have. We don't complete it. Animals, when a deer is being chased by a lion and then they play dead and then they live, they literally shake it off. They shake it off and they get on living, and that's what we don't do. So I think, knowing like, hey, it's kind of getting a bit overwhelming right now, but my emotions are getting too big. I got to walk away, and just walking away, taking those breaths and just coming back to yourself.
I love it. I am a massive, massive advocate of those belly breaths, and let's add shake it off to the end of it too. Yeah. I think that's fabulous. Brie, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And as I said before, all of your contact links and details will be in the show notes to this episode. So anyone who's curious to find out more or get in touch with you can do so very easily. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for popping my podcast cherry. This is the first podcast that I've been a guest on, which I'm really excited about. And tomorrow I'm actually recording my first podcast that I'm doing with a friend. So it's been a fun learning experience as well.
Fabulous. Very exciting. Well, you have to let us know what that is when it all launches and goes live.
Yeah, definitely will. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for episode number 23, which is our penultimate conversation of season 1. What did you love about that one? As ever, I found the whole conversation packed with wisdom, but I think if I had to sum it up, these would be my key takeaways. Firstly, Brie slipped in what I believe is a bloody fantastic self-reflection question when she was talking about that aimless scrolling through social media. She said, "What am I numbing from? What am I numbing from?" Everything we do for our benefit, even if our conscious self then beats ourselves up for it. So the fact is, if we're procrastinating, if we're putting off doing something by binge watching Netflix or scrolling through Reels or TikTok or whatever it is that we're doing, we are getting something from it. So it pays to stop and reflect. What am I benefiting from this? What am I getting from this? What am I numbing from? What am I putting off? What am I scared of? When we ask ourselves these questions, we start to uncover those beliefs that we might then choose to challenge so that we can clear the way for ourselves to move forward. Now, the second standout for me was when Brie spoke about us not being able to tap into our intuition with our head in the past or constantly worrying about the future. And this is something that I personally resonate with right now in terms of my decision to launch the Real Life Business Hub. Now, the hub is something I'll talk about in just a moment, but it is a business decision that I am well and truly trusting my gut on. Worrying about things that haven't even happened yet is only going to stall my momentum. And so I think it's great advice to stay in the present when making business decisions, especially right now. Now, I will just qualify that. I'm not saying that we should just act on a whim and go with our gut and do whatever the hell we want to do. You know, obviously there's some due diligence. Obviously there's some planning and some thinking ahead that we need to do. But what I'm talking about is when that goes too far and when we start dwelling on issues that haven't even happened yet and trying to cross every T and dot every I before we even start something. That's when things can start to become a bit unstuck. So I think that's a really, really important reminder that is going to serve us long term. So then finally for me, and another timely reminder, and one that I actually talk to a lot of my one-on-one clients about as well, is remembering to look after ourselves. How many times has this come up this season? Remembering to look after ourselves. It is so important. And, you know, now more than ever, I think it's even more challenging for us to do that. You know, those of us that have got kids at home, we're concerned about them, we're thinking about them and our learning. Those of us with employees are worrying about whether we're going to have enough work to continue to be able to pay their wages. And we've got so many other things and so many other people that we're thinking about right now. But we have to remember that, and we've all heard this before, we cannot pour from an empty cup. We simply can't. Put it in the analogy of your car. If your car fuel tank is empty, however furiously you sit there stamping your foot on the accelerator pedal, it is not going to move. It is going to cough, it is going to splutter, and ultimately it's probably going to stuff the engine. I don't know much about cars, but you know, the car will not move with no fuel in the tank. And we need to think of our bodies in exactly the same way. So to be the best parent, to be the best business owner, to be the best boss, to be the best partner, to be the best whatever we want to be, we need to take that time to stop, however counterintuitive it may feel. We need to take that time to stop and do something for ourselves. Now, that something is going to look different for all of us. You know, we're not all meditation and journaling people, and that's fine. Self-care and wellness and looking after ourselves doesn't mean forcing ourselves to do yoga or journaling if that's not the thing for us. So what I say is find that thing that energizes you. And do that. You know, I was having a conversation with a client just this morning who's given herself the challenge to learn to do the forward splits. I mean, how freaking awesome is that? You know, it's just one little thing for us to do as individuals to challenge ourselves to set our minds to. You might want to clean out your pantry. You might want to organize your wardrobe. You might want to do a HIIT cardio workout every day, or go for a walk, or sit in the sun and have a cup of tea. Whatever it is, find the thing that energizes you and make sure you do that every day to make sure you're recharging your battery so you can be the best that you can be. I've hinted at it a few times. I mentioned some exciting news. The momentum behind Real Life Business, as I've said before, has really taken me by surprise. And when I started my coaching business back in 2017, I called it Reignite Performance Coaching because making that decision at that time reignited my energy. It reignited that fire in my belly, that desire, that drive to do something, to move forward, to achieve something. Now, at that time in my life, I felt like I'd lost that. If you've seen the kids' movie Trolls, when they don't have all their color and all their color drains and they turn gray because they haven't had enough hugs. That's how I felt. I felt like I was walking around in a shell of myself. I felt gray. And when I made the decision to completely change careers and start a coaching business, I felt that energy come back. I felt that color creep back in. And that fire in my belly is well and truly back now when I think about Real Life Business and how it's helping people. And I know it's helping people from all the emails, all the messages on Insta, and all the things that people are saying. I really do appreciate your comments and your feedback. It really does give me energy. So thank you. Now, what I have decided to do and what I am thrilled to announce is the launch of the Real Life Business Hub. Now, what the hub is, it's a unique blend of my 15 plus years business and finance experience as an accountant and a business coach. So it's a self-paced online, practical online course for how to build a sustainable, profitable business. But there's heaps of those out there. There are heaps of those out there. So what makes this different is there's a blend of personal development, mindset, and wellness, as well as community. So you've got in the hub, you have got practical, tangible, building a business program. You've also got personal development, and you've also got the community aspect, because let's face it, this is something we've heard time and time again through this season as well. We cannot achieve things alone. We are so much better when we are surrounded by people in the same mindset as us, people who are driven to build a sustainable, profitable business that meets the needs of their lifestyle without taking over their life. That is what I want this hub to encompass. I want it to be a community of like-minded business owners striving for the same thing. So you've got a step-by-step framework for how to build and grow your sustainable, profitable business. You've got all the mindset and personal development stuff to help you clear the shit that's going to come up along the way, to clear those stories, to challenge those beliefs like Brie was talking about in this conversation. Then you've got the added element of community, because let's face it, we really have... That has been a repeated theme that has come through these podcast conversations. When we are in a community of like-minded people, it really helps lift us up and carry us along, particularly in those days when we're feeling a bit down. And you've also got access to me. The hub is going to include bi-monthly group coaching sessions with me. So any questions about the content, any challenges of stuff that's coming up for you right now, anything you want to bounce, any crazy ideas you've got that the people around you are trying to tell you is just crazy and woo-woo and out there, but you know deep down in your belly that there's something in it, bounce them with this like-minded community. That is what the hub is going to be all about. Maybe you've lost that fire in your belly in regard to your business, particularly at the moment. Maybe you've lost all energy and enthusiasm. Maybe you're keen to pivot and build in some more resilience by bringing in new income streams. Maybe you've reached a point where you know you need to grow, but that means getting serious, and that means maybe bringing on staff, and that's bloody scary. Whatever it is, the hub could be just the thing that you need to get you over this blip and get you moving in the direction that you want to be, to make sure you have a business that is servicing your life rather than a business that is taking over your life. So if you're curious to find out more, I will post a link in the show notes to this episode. There'll also be a link on my Facebook and my Insta. So if you follow me there, you'll find the link there. Or you can simply message me and just say, hey Claire, tell me a bit more about the hub. I really want to know. And I will make sure that you have all the information that you need so that you are taken care of. Alrighty then, time for me to wrap up. Thank you again for lending me your ears as always. Make sure you're subscribed on your podcast app of choice so that you never miss a new episode when it drops. And be sure to share this episode with someone in your network if you believe that they need to hear it. Don't forget to sign up for the Real Talk mail list. The link to that is in the show notes to this episode as well. And I will be back in your ears really soon. Until then, bye-bye.